Okay, what's up guys? Hello again. This is the second video that we gonna review about lesson number 2 Excel. Lesson number 2 was related to interface touring. We're gonna do a quick tour about the interface. We're gonna discuss the important different buttons on the Excel, what the names of these buttons and what they're doing. Okay, so first of all we're gonna talk about let's see, we're gonna talk about the ribbon bar. Ribbon bar actually is this part of the interface, that part that keep changing. As you see me press the different tabs, this part that keep changing, we call it the ribbon. Okay, and the ribbon or the ribbon bar is used to show most of the tools that we use to interact with the Excel sheet. For example, if I want to change the colors of this part, if I want to divide it into these different borders, most of these tools are appeared here in the ribbon. Okay, it's not the tabs, it's the part that keep changing. You see this, that keep changing, we call it the ribbon or the ribbon bar. The ribbon bar is a different way of Microsoft company to make it easy for the users, because they stopped using the drop-down menus on the different tools. For an example, on a different part, it's going to be discussed on the last lesson. For an example, this Microsoft button is using a different way of showing the tools. We call this way of showing the tools, we call it a drop-down menu. Okay, so the ribbon is not a drop-down menu, it's a flat piece of interface that has all the tools, but of course they are divided into different tabs, as you can see, because each time I press a different tab, home, page layout, formula, it keeps changing. It has different tools, but the area or the space is the same. Okay, so we call it the ribbon bar. It has all the tools that I need to interact with the interface or the sheet itself. Okay, all around tools is there. Secondly, we're gonna talk about the Microsoft button. You see this button that I keep pressing? Okay, Microsoft button has two types of tools. Okay, it has tools that's related to interacting with the Excel file itself. Okay, so when I want to save a file of Excel, if I want to open it, if I want to print it, I'm dealing with the Excel file itself. I'm not dealing with the sheet here, like here. Okay, I'm dealing with the file that exists on my desktop, for example. So it has tools that related to dealing with the Excel file itself, or we have what we call it Excel options. I can change the options of the Excel itself. For an example, if I want to change the location of the files of something, I can do that from here. I can change anything related to the settings or the option of Excel from here. So Microsoft button or Microsoft icon has two different tools that is related to Excel, dealing with the Excel file itself, or we can change the options or configuration of Excel from here. Okay, so let's talk about shortcuts. I'll talk about shortcuts or Microsoft shortcuts. The first shortcut that I'm gonna give you is how to open a file. We said that when we want to open a file of Excel, I'm talking about opening, let's say that I'm opening an old file. We need to press Control O. Okay, Control O to open the dialog and open any kind of file that exists. For example, I'm going to open a file that related to the marks of students, for an example. I don't want to do that here. Might cause problems with the students. Why you show them my marks? Anyway, so I'm gonna go to a different part of my computer. I'm gonna look for a file. I'm gonna open, let's say that I'm gonna open this expenses. Okay, expenses is something that I use to show my expenses, for example. So anyway, this is how I open a file. Anyway, now you know how to do it. just a second, this is one number. Okay. So we open a file by using Control O. If I want to save a file, for example, let's say that I did this, I want to save this, okay? I am gonna make a quick square, I'm gonna do it. And I want to save it. I need to save, you can save by using Control S, okay? When you press Control S, it will open the Save As dialog box, okay? When it opens the Save dialog box, it will ask you to save in the desktop, for example, okay? So it will take you to a dialog box, we call it Save As dialog box, and it will save the changes that you made, okay? So Control O for opening a file that exists on the desktop, Control S is the shortcut for saving the file. And there is the Control P. Control P is a different tool too. Control P used to print a file. So if I want to print a file, I press Control P to print my file, so it will appear as a print dialog box. This dialog box is gonna ask you which printer that you want to use to print, the number of pages, stuff like that, okay? So Control P is used to print a file of Excel, okay? Secondly, I'm gonna talk about the part of the ribbon that on top of the ribbon, which is called Quick Access Toolbar. Quick Access Toolbar is here, guys, okay? You see this? It's the part here, next to the Microsoft icon. We call it Quick Access Toolbar. What's the job of this part? We keep all the commands that we keep using. For example, opening a file, saving a file. The tools that you use most of the time or use it in an excessive way, it's saved here. So instead of going, to different menus and pressing different menus, you keep them here. Okay, this is the job of Quick Access Toolbar, to put the tools that we use oftenly there. Okay. Beside, next is the name box. The name box is this part here. You see this? We call this the name box. Why we call it the name box? Because it gives the name of the different cells. Let's say that I have a cell here. Okay. You see the name of the cell here is typed here in the name box. As you can see, when I hover with my mouse, the name box appears. So we call this space name box because it gives the different name of different cells. Because as you know, all this we call it a worksheet, but each part of these we call it a cell. Different cells has different names, and this name appear here in this space. We call it the name box. Beside the names, how we name the box. Let's talk about this part. This cell is named C5. What C5 stands for? It stands for the column that the cell stands in, and 5, which is the row. So the cross of the column and the row representing the name of the cell. Okay, that's why we call it C5. It means that this cell exists in the C column, that crossing with row number 5. This is how we name the cells. Okay, next is the formula bar. The formula bar is this part of the Microsoft. This part, you see the space that I have my cursor over. This is the formula bar, because this is where all the magic of Excel happens. Everything that we do, for example, when I do a simple calculation, let's say that I'm gonna add 5 to 5 to give me 10. As you can see, when I keep my mouse on this cell 10, you see that this is weird code. Okay, we call it a formula. This formula is like a code that doing the calculation of this the number in this cell and this cell to give us the result in the third cell. Okay, so we call it a formula bar. The formula bar is the important. It's the main calculation space of the Excel. So the calculation is happening because of the code that is in the formula bar. Okay, so we call it formula bar. As a general point of view, I wanted to know, you're gonna ask me how many columns or how many rows in the Excel, you know, how many, how far we can go down or how far we can go horizontally. I mean, what's the size of the Excel worksheet is that we have. Usually, in general, we have like 60,000 columns. Okay, the one worksheet of Excel has like 60,000 columns. Okay. As for the row, you can say that we have, I don't know, rows. The number of the rows around a million. I think a million. Yeah, million rows. So the same sheet of Excel has 60,000 columns and 1 million rows. In total, when you multiply this, you will discover that you have at the same sheet you have like something like 70 millions, I think, of cells, which is those small parts. You need the small parts. This is the number of the cells on the same sheet. 17 million cells. Okay, it's a general information for you guys, so you know how big it is, the worksheet of Excel, the one worksheet. Okay. Let's talk about the group of tabs. Okay, named sheet 1. We call them actually sheet tabs. Sheet tabs exist here. You see those? We call them sheet tabs. Each tab of these representing a separated worksheet. Okay, as you can see, when I press this, everything disappears. I'm gonna explain to you. I'm gonna make a red box here. I'm gonna make a green box here. As you can see, they have different content, so each sheet in the sheet tab considered as a different or separated worksheet. What I want you to understand, you can have as many as you want sheets. You can add them by pressing the button next to them. You can have as many as you want sheets, okay, in the sheet tab, but you can't have less than one tab. If you have less than one, you can't have less than one tab, because Excel will ask you, will tell you that you can't have less than one tab to work out. So you can have as many as you want, but you can't have less than one sheet in the sheet tab. Okay, the sheet tabs considered different worksheet. You can ask me what we can use them for. For an example, if I want to put the marks of the students, I can use one Excel file, but I keep different classes in different sheets. Okay, it's like separating the information, but we are using the same file. This is the sheet tabs. Okay, what we can talk about, I'm gonna talk about the small VCR button here next to the sheet. You see this VCR? It's used to navigate. Okay, we call it it's called let me remember the name of it. I'm sorry, sometimes I can't remember the titles. It's called the sheet tab scrolling buttons. Okay, sheet tab scrolling buttons. The sheet tab scrolling button used to scroll between the different tabs. Instead of pressing the mouse, you can use them to scroll between the different tabs when you have a lot of tabs on the sheet tab. Okay, scrolling, it's called sheet tab scrolling buttons. What else? Inside that, I have the status bar. You see this writing here, it's written ready, right? This, we call it the status bar. The status bar is giving you a way of explaining what you are doing right now. Let's say, for example, I'm writing the name of student here. Okay, I'm gonna write some example. As you can see, the notification on the status bar keeps changing. It used to be ready, right? But now, since I'm writing here, I'm trying to change information inside of a cell. It changes it into edit. and when I finish editing I should be pressing enter to finish from entering the information. As you can see, the status bar goes back to the ready setup. Means that you are not doing anything right now, everything is ready. So what I'm doing right now in Excel, what you are doing at that point of Excel, the status bar tells you information about it, what you're doing, like writing or editing Excel or whatever it is. That's called status bar. Okay. We have the view shortcut. You see this view shortcut. The view shortcut is the different buttons that giving you the option to show the worksheet in a different way. Okay, for an example, if I want to split the worksheet into separated squares like this, there's a lot of them. So it gives you the option to view the working sheet in a different way. Okay, different way of showing your working sheet. This is the job of this is the task of the view shortcut. Okay, we call it view shortcut. It gives you an option of showing your worksheet in a different, more than one way to show it. Okay. After the view shortcut button, beneath that button, or let's say to the right of it, we have what we call it the zoom control. The zoom control is a button that used to zoom in and zoom out in our worksheet in Excel. You can zoom out or zoom in by dragging to left or right, and this, or by pressing the minus or the plus mark. Alright, you can use the shortcut of zooming in and zoom out as we take it. You remember that? It's control and the scroll button of the mouse. You keep the control pressed while you zoom in and zoom out by scrolling forward and back with the scroll button of the mouse. Okay, what else besides zooming out? I think that's it for it. That's the different parts that we talked about. I'm gonna show you a map or a picture of the different parts so you can remember them. Okay, you remember that now. We have the ribbon, which is this part. We talked about the office button, and to the right of the office button we have the quick access bar, and we have the name box, the formula bar, and then we talked about the sheet tabs, the status bar, the view shortcut or the view shortcut buttons, and the zoom controls. That's the main interface tool that we're gonna take about. I'm not gonna talk about more detailed stuff, but it's called touring because it gives you a general point of view about the interface of Excel. I hope that you understood what we discussed in this video. Thank you for watching, and good luck with your exam, guys. Okay, take care. Bye bye.